Okay. So this is the original t-shirt. This is actually insane.
But I'm from Ohio though, white boy. It's every day, bro, with the Disney Channel flow.
Neighbor from hell? Disney Channel star Jake Paul is accused of making life miserable for his neighbors in fancy West Hollywood. Here he burns furniture in his backyard that erupts into a towering inferno.
So, Nat is right here and has joined me for this video. And by this video, I mean...
He also lights his mattress on fire to roast marshmallows. Flames spread so quickly, the mattress has to be thrown in the pool.
Episode 1 of our new documentary series. Now we are just going to on the first episode of this documentary, which I am going to be calling something. Well, but today we're becoming the worst thing in the world, the most scary thing in the universe, a drama channel. We're talking about some stuff which is going to be after this entire thing, because the last time somebody did any sort of big video on Jake Paul, it was Shane Dawson, and he's retired from YouTube to do podcasts and cake cutting videos.
And a conspiracy theory video coming out soon.
Oh yeah, because he's turned into a conspiracy channel now.
He's been a conspiracy theorist forever.
Then he took a break to interview Tana Mungaway. This is Inside the Brain of Jake Paul. So yeah, as I was basically saying, we are going to be doing a thorough research of Jake Paul from the upbringing, not the upbringing, because that sounds like we're just going to be talking about his childhood.
Pam, I'm doing an interview.
We're not doing an interview. Well, this documentary is going to shit already.
We're not doing an interview.
I was about to say, we're not doing an interview. You know what, I'm just gonna, fuck it. I'm just gonna run with it. We're not doing an interview with Jake. We're not with fucking Jake Paul. Fucking Greg Paul.
And Pam Paul. Whatever her name is.
Pam is not a fucking Paul. Yeah, we're not doing an interview with Greg Paul, to my knowledge anyway.
Cut to episode 6.
Cut to episode 72, interviewing the Greg Paul of Jake Paul.
The Greg Paul.
I promise this.
Interviewing the
This is how you can tell that this is how you can tell that this series is not scripted. Basically, we're going to be doing a couple of big, thorough researches into this, because this is actually going to be quite interesting. So first of all, we're going to talk about Team 10 and all the interesting stuff about Team 10, all of the scary stuff about Team 10, and what is Team 10? Where's Nick? Where's England is my cities? What is Nick Crompton doing with his life? Because
somewhere in England, probably
because he owns
Scunthorpe. Probably running the local chippy in Scunthorpe.
If Nick Crompton is running the local chippy in fucking Scunthorpe, I genuinely... This would be called the depressing downfall of Team 10. That's what this entire thing would be called. But then, we are going to actually be going on to the next thing, which is actually quite an interesting one, because Jake Paul used to own a certain clothing line, which sort of disappeared off the face of the earth. Epic food review!
Let me have a go.
Squashies review. Squashies here. Okay, this is the most important part of the documentary. Okay, that's actually not bad. Anyway, we're going to talk about Team 10, and yeah, let's actually set up a more professional camera rig. So, as you can see, we have set up a camera. Team 10 was a very interesting time in YouTube history.
Just a bunch of people in a house.
Yeah.
Got their popularity mainly from the song they released, I think.
Yes. Okay, do you reckon anybody can guess what the song is?
No.
Handle this. Y'all don't know what's about to happen, baby. Team 10. It's every day, bro, with the Disney Channel flow. 5 million on YouTube in 6 months. Never done before.
But yeah, basically they released a song and that basically blew up that entire like Team 10 thing blew up from that song.
I can't lie to you, I did not know anything about Jake Paul before that song came out.
Me either. Yeah, they started on Vine, which actually kind of a little fun story about this and still about Vine as well. I actually watched some of their Vine compilations back in the day,
Right.
but I didn't know it was them.
Oh.
And there's a specific Vine, it's the Christmas morning one where they smash through the door. It almost felt like it just came out of nowhere. Like, I don't really remember much about, like, I'm almost like them coming up instantly there, and they had like 5 million subscribers. Yeah, this is mainly what I knew of them at this time. I kind of probably saw a little bit more of just the crowds of people who gathered outside of their house to shout "England is my city," and other random things. Because there was a lot of instances outside of the house which was like a bunch of fans just swarming the entire
I'm not
street.
surprised. That was a regular occurrence in that time of YouTube.
And it's because apparently one of the members accidentally leaked the house address, and everyone found out where the house was. Because if you searched in Team 10 house into Google, like, the address would just come up. I remember, like, they'd do, like, pranks and stuff where they'd come up to the house and all of that kind of stuff. And, yeah, like, it was actually pretty crazy, that kind of time. And I remember there was a popular, like, paparazzi guy called the Hollywood Fix, who, you may have seen some videos from, but yeah, basically...
Is he the one that just doesn't care?
He just goes up to random people and says like the most random questions. But yeah, he used to like camp out over the road from the Team 10 house.
Creepy, that lad.
But to try and get like video and footage of like when Jake would randomly come out. Which, I mean, looking back on it now as like an adult, like, that definitely seemed very strange. But then it almost like felt like a bit like almost like a bit of a fever dream in like the idea that this era didn't feel like real back in the time, because it just felt like, oh, this is just like a big show, and it didn't feel like super real back at the time.
Prior to leaving and during the like initial popularity boost, wasn't there beef with Rice Gum?
Oh yeah, there was beef. There was when I say there's beef, there was beef with about every single creator at the time. There was Rice Gum beef. There was so many different types of beef, but
and he made a rival song, didn't he?
Yeah, which
with
is good.
Alyssa Bennett?
Yeah, who was Jake's ex-girlfriend at the time. Like, the whole weird thing about this whole era is it wasn't 100% staged, but it was like forced in a way. So like some things like the Team 10 pranks were like massively staged, like they were fake. In a sense, like Nick Crompton actually did approve, like actually he kind of shone some light on this back in the Shane Dawson documentary. It went from like this pretty big sized house, but just like, you know, it was probably a little bit bigger than this house that I'm in right now, to like a full on like $7-8 million mansion, like kind of thing. It was like a huge thing. There was like other YouTuber houses as well, like you had like the FaZe house, and you know, like the Sidemen House back in the UK. Hype House was like a thing that came after, I believe.
That was when TikTok came.
Like TikTok sort of brought their own houses, but then the thing is, with all of these houses, some of them will like run differently as well. Like the Team 10 house and the Logan Paul Maverick house were very, very much self-run. So what would happen is they'd just take the money from the business, like the YouTuber would actually live there, and then essentially all the other YouTubers would move in, and that would be the content. But for houses like the Clout House, it was actually paid and owned by a company. So an investor would invest in these like social media stars, which is kind of crazy now thinking about it. So yeah, another thing that kind of happened as well is a lot of Team 10 members left, and a lot of them got kicked out or left or had some sort of complications, and Team 10 was actually remodeled like a couple of times until it finally did die out. So 2017 happened, been and went. Logan Paul went to a certain forest, and that all happened. And after that, there was a lot of YouTubers who had to like reboot their career, and Jake was one of them who decided to go into the whole YouTuber boxing era, which is kind of dead at the moment, I'm not gonna lie. You had the two brothers who were essentially fighting each other. So you had Jake and Logan versus KSI and Deji, which this whole thing was quite a big event, because I remember like people actually would talk about this kind of thing. Things really started popping off and like blowing up outside of the US. Jake ended up fighting Deji and ended up winning that fight, which obviously then sparked his entire boxing thing that happened. But something else happened within that time. Jake Paul decided he wanted to create his own unique clothing brand, aside from his merchandise line, and he named that brand RNBO, which ended up standing for Rise and Be Original.
How original.
What? RNBO ended up doing multiple drops, and this brand was going to be insanely huge.
Okay, so one little thing that I forgot to mention in the entire timeline of things, which we're going to be getting into a little bit more in next week's episode of this documentary series, or a docu-series I suppose for short. But the one thing that we did forget to cover over is Jake Paul's cancelled clothing line. I am of course talking about the clothing line which he premiered at the fight that he won against Deji, RNBO. This brand meant so much to Jake that he even got it tattooed on his stomach. But after a couple of drops, the entire clothing brand vanished off the face of the earth, and there really isn't much talk about it. So we're gonna go over that clothing brand in the next part of this docu-series. So, I may have found something. So this is the original t-shirt from the very, very first collection of RNBO, and you know what? I'm actually tempted to go ahead and purchase it and make it an actual part of the next episode. Yo guys, I did not expect to be purchasing something from this brand which literally doesn't exist anymore, plus it's literally brand new as well in the packaging. This is a very, very rare find, I can't lie. Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna buy it right now. This is actually insane. Today, we're going to be doing a deep dive into Jake Paul's brand RNBO, and we're going to find out what happened to the brand alongside a ton of other mysteries. Oh my god, I'm going to buy this right now. This is actually insane.
It's Jake Paul! Jake